Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. Thank you first of all, to Equality Kansas for what they do for the queer community in Kansas. It means so much not feeling alone with people advocating for us in Topeka. Thank you all so much. Also, I feel they're my friends. I'm alongside them often. And thank you all for everyone who's here, who's donated. They do their work because of everyone who's here helping us. So, I'm also really excited to be here. It's a fabulous day. I was going to do my hey everybody, Hazel here. It's fabulous, right? I love the word fabulous. I love a lot of what's going on in my life right now, and that's a lot around this book, Enthusiastically-you. It came out, published it in January of this year. Up until it was published, it was still one of the most fun things I did. And ever since it was published, it's been like incredible. I'm just like so excited just to be me, so excited to be able to tell my story, and so excited to speak it into existence. Just want to pause to mention, that's what I'm trying to focus on now. This is my story of discovering a life I'm enthusiastic to live. But now I want to inspire everybody to find their enthusiastic authenticity. I'm launching my speaking career, so if you ever need anybody who looks like me, talks like me, let me know. So, as I mentioned, writing the book was one of the most fun things I did. And I would just say that putting together my unique story through my unique voice is not unique to me. Everyone has a story in you, and I encourage everybody to write your story, think about your story, and tell your story about who you are, your authentic self, and tell it enthusiastically, please. So my story covers my life from March 2018 into my transition in 2021, emphasizing finding my name in March of 2021. And so I have three pieces, a beginning, middle, and end, that I'm going to read here with a little bit of just like context, because I know some people have read it, but I also know Jake hasn't read it, so they just admitted it. So, but I kind of was counting on that. So the first part I'm going to read is the beginning. So I tell my story in a unique way. I tell most of it through the first person perspective. However, at some point I use third person because the person that I used to be, meets Hazel later on. But the first part is the I perspective, first person perspective, mostly from the he perspective, on how sad my life was. It starts off in the lowest day of my life, and then kind of discusses where I was the summer after that, very destructive behavior I was going through, mostly around my addiction to alcohol. And then in the third chapter, I start to dwell on a question I was asked by Rachel. That's the person I was married to, separated her. So when you hear Rachel, that's my former spouse. So if you're following along, it's chapter 3, it's the end of chapter 3. All right, and again, it came out as gay earlier in the year. This was about November of 2018. With such confidence and zeal, I came out as gay earlier this year, after which time people celebrated my journey, including Rachel. The garden of my life was never more vibrant than this past summer, yet now I feel like a disappointment as the scintillating colors of the pursuit turn a dismal shade of brown. Reverting to a previous iteration, my attraction to women has returned, leading to confusion over confidence. My desires to be with women are more emotional in nature, whereas my desires for men satisfy physical needs. Either way, I want a relationship without knowing what that relationship could be or with whom. My biggest fear is I'm simply a tourist on a gay cruise for the summer, as I go back to the basic questions of my sexuality. On the one hand, the idea of a gay cruise sounds marvelous, with so many sexy men, probably scantily clad servers. There's no kids here, right? Scantily clad servers doling out fruity drinks with umbrellas. Right, are they coming? After enjoying that thought for a bit, I pull back. See, I am gay, or at least like men, but it's not the same anymore. Coming back to the reality of my balcony and the reality of my predicament, I ask aloud, What is it about women that keeps drawing me back? Clenching this thought as though a puzzle. Maybe I'm bi, which is not the first time I've considered this possibility. Ever since I logged into internet chat rooms as a teen, I was drawn to bi-curious spaces. Inevitably, I would get into conversations or look at pictures of guys, even when I wanted so badly to be straight. These chat rooms were my little secret that no one else could know, particularly my family. That's really where my darkest anxiety began, shutting those parts down into the abyss of my consciousness. Coming out as gay provides freedom. However, I wonder if this is the real freedom. In a way, I am trapped again. I told everyone I'm gay, yet I don't feel gay. Not fully gay, at least. It's not as simple as being bi either. It's me. There's something wrong with me. Playing back a recent conversation with Rachel, one portion in particular, I'm grateful she remains my friend, allowing me to wrestle with my sexuality, even though her pain is fresh. She should be incredibly angry, never speaking to me, or worse, seeking sole custody of our kids. Instead, Rachel offers insightful questions such as the one I cannot abandon. Do you think you are trans? My answer that day persists tonight. I don't know, which I say into the chilly air more than once. I don't know. While I certainly do not embrace high masculinity, recognizing the damage it inflicts above everything else, nothing else, I don't know if anything feels right. After some time staring into the trees, pondering Rachel's question, I reach for my cup, which I notice is empty again. Now at the level of drunkenness that completely overshadows my previous exhaustion, I can stand with ease. Reaching the kitchen is another reminder I have not eaten dinner yet, so I decide to rectify that by putting the pizza in the oven. My hunger pangs intensify, though I hardly give them a notice, since I stay on Rachel's question. Could I be trans? How could I possibly know? So that's the end of chapter 3, end of the first part, and that's kind of where you leave him. And then the next chapter is 1 year after the first chapter, and he meets Hazel. What I really enjoy about my book, I love all my book. Like I say this is my favorite part, that is my favorite part. But I really enjoy the way I told the story, and that's 2 versions of myself. Hazel, that you know, and he, that no one knows. That's one of the reasons I wanted to tell this story, is so many people know me, Hazel, and not who I used to be, and really wanted to show, like, who I am is so far away. So who you want to be is possible, no matter how far away it is. So I move forward into the 2019. So I'm sober at this point, and was in a relationship with a woman, and it was a relationship that resembled a lot of what my parents had. The relationships that I was trying to abandon, but I essentially abandoned myself. This chapter is called Regrets, the relationship end, and I'm just like dwelling on this. This is written in the I perspective, so it's me. It's written around about a year later, so fall of 2019. Okay, so again, I'm sober, so it starts off with, weeks later, I wake up free from any hangover. As usual, every so often I wake up with a little bit of excitement. However, today is not one of those days. I turn in my bed, away from the door, away from the world, wanting to escape to a life I can start all over, possibly building parts of me I can be happy with. As my 38th birthday looms a few months away, I feel the attempt at life is beyond repair. What's the point of any of this? I've failed at life, I say, as if speaking it into the world will push the reset button, starting me back on day 1. I hate who I am. I truly hate this. Whispering at first before instinctively getting louder. I hate this. I hate this so much. Why can't it be nighttime again so I can simply stay in bed without feeling completely worthless? I am simply going through my days rather than finding anything that could possibly make me happy. Booze made me happy, but that's gone. Pursuing relationships made me happy, but that might as well be gone. I could have been happy with Myra. Myra's the person that I was in the relationship with. I could have been happy with Myra, or happy enough. Our potential relationship was a ticket to what so many seek. In other words, my parents' life, which is productive, safe, and just there. If they say they are happy, then it must be true. Every week is the same until the occasional vacation, work party, or something your kids are doing. The person is just next to you. always. Having the same conversations every day about what program to watch on television or what time the local sports team plays their game. We can host a party for our friends so we can get together, talking about kids in our lives, which we are simply wasting away. Feels like the purpose of life should be to live it, rather than go through the motions of what a life should be according to some societal rulebook, earning trophies for the best lawn or longest white picket fence. How often are people doing things simply so they can tell their friends and family they're doing these things? This is the destination Myra and I sought, or Rachel and I for that matter, since it's how all of us were raised, not only by our immediate family, but society. Raising kids, making a home, hoping we don't die of cancer at the age of 60 like my father. According to many, he was a good man, sacrificed for his family, built up a career as an insurance adjuster, which is necessary work in our culture. I know what an insurance adjuster is, not only because of my dad, but I had a good job working in insurance, building towards fake happiness through real riches. I cannot fathom how I would ever want this, begging the question, why not? What is wrong with me, preventing me from wanting this? I feel cheated out of blissful ignorance. A little bit later on, I say, am I doomed to revert to the version of myself who is destined to fail? Again, this is me questioning, like I keep going back to these things and these things that aren't making me happy. And I, wrestle with this, found a relationship that I was really happy with that ended. And then later on, meanwhile, as everything's happening, Hazel and he are having a conversation where he is discovering who he is. And this part is the end of part 2, where he and Hazel have their final conversation. It's at a coffee shop, and the chapter's called He's Gone. By the end of the chapter, he's gone, and only Hazel emerges. And it's right after I find my name. And throughout the whole book, finding my name, Hazel, and I've said this hundreds of times if you've been standing next to me, finding my name meant so much to me because it's who I am. And he's on the verge of finding that, discovering that with Hazel. And even though I've written this, read it many, many times, I will probably cry at some point. So she drinks her coffee. So she is Hazel. So my name, choking up a little bit before resuming. Finding my name was when I started to actively transition. I just did what felt right, which was really essentially no decision. My heart spoke to me, constantly telling me this is who I am. In a way, Hazel was always there, encouraging me to look within until what was on the outside matches the inside. And I have Hazel motioning, putting her hand on her heart. Hazel continues, I feel so differently from the person before, who was awkward, unnatural, constantly thinking about anything and everything. That person I was before was unable to exist in a real way. Being Hazel is being free to be my authentic self, practically separate from the person before. As a reminder, Hazel's talking to him at a coffee shop, separate. Flabbergasted by her admission, he can only remain silent in thought, sensing she's talking about him, not to him. Shortly after, Hazel adds, I love this, all of it. I love being me. This person I am is amazing. I'm Hazel. Visibly stunned, he just stares at her, taking a sip of coffee before setting her cup down. As an invitation, Hazel asks, does this make sense? Sorry, I may have gone on a tangent from what you were asking. After a sip of his coffee, he timidly speaks up. That's perfect. Stretching the words out before continuing, and so comforting. I don't really know what I am doing, but I'm scared in a way I never have been before. Hazel asks softly, what are you scared of? Looking at his cup on the table, he gathers his thoughts before saying, I don't know. Lifting his eyes from the cup to meet Hazel's, he resumes, okay, that's not true. I do know. It's my next step. I am worried I am lost, or more precisely, I am worried I am not lost. And the answer is literally in front of me. He opens his hands towards Hazel. Speaking from his heart is relatively easy with Hazel, although this feels novel, as the magnitude of everything resides within these comments. His possible transition, his name, his entire life flexing into an abyss that is too dark to possibly imagine what is down there, other than what he sees in her. Most critically, the light she's been, Hazel. He knew he opened up the possibility of searching with her, and more than anything else, he didn't want to stop. You are doing great, Hazel reassures. It's okay to be scared. I was really scared. When I found my name, I was excited. Then immediately afterwards, I was scared. Looking back, I know being scared indicates I was finally on the path out of the maze I suffered in for nearly 4 decades. The turns I made weren't mine. They were everyone else's. So of course, my path I finally explored was incredibly frightening. Hazel continues. I was also very aware that people would be asking me why, or worse, leaving me. Yet it became so prevalent that it must be myself, since it was my first and only chance to be happy. Looking at her, he could only respond with, right? Leaving the rest to his own thoughts, which circulated around the last word, happy. And that's like what I want to just like end with this, is that my story is a happy story. Yes, it's very dark. Most of it is dark. Most of it is very sad. But it's a happy story because I am who I am. And I want everyone to have like the same thing that I have. And I want to just like wrap up by saying again, thank you to Equality Kansas. Thank you to everyone who's here, because I am here because of everything we do here. And thank you to the politicians who are fighting every single day. And thank you all for being here.